If you don't know how to use your phone internationally the right way, you're gonna end up draining your bank account every single day that you travel, like this guy who had a $45,000 phone bill. This is not a joke, and to avoid accidentally racking up charges like this, please watch to the end of this video. Nowadays, there are new options to stay connected that are both cheap and convenient. But first, what not to do, and that is roaming on your home plan. To give you just one example of how disastrous this can be, both AT&T and Verizon charge $2.05 per megabyte for international roaming. The average American uses roughly 1 gigabyte per day of mobile data, so that would come out to $2,000 per day to use their phone abroad. This is exactly how that guy's parents racked up $45,000 in roaming charges when traveling in Egypt. Your provider should send you plenty of messages warning you of this, so whatever you do, do not ignore those messages. Okay, so as far as viable options go, let's start on one extreme end of the spectrum, the most convenient but also the most expensive. Then we'll move on to some cheaper, slightly less convenient options, including one free option. So the first option is to see if your home provider offers some sort of temporary travel package. Prices vary from provider to provider, but just to give you an example, AT&T and Verizon both have packages that charge $10 per line per day. While this may be convenient and definitely better than $2,000 per day, you can see how this could add up quickly, especially if you're like a family of 5 traveling for a week. The next option is to find a home provider that actually includes international data coverage. The most popular example here would be something like Google Fi. That way you literally don't have to do anything. Your data should work everywhere you go. There's just one pretty obvious downside here. It'd be a pretty big hassle to switch your entire home cell phone provider setup just so that you can have some data while you're on vacation. Especially nowadays with all the other convenient alternatives to get data on your phone while abroad, including my favorite one, which I'll get to in a second. In my opinion, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, Google Fi really only makes sense if you're gonna be jet setting in and out of the US every month or so. And you won't ever be leaving for more than 90 days at a time, because after 90 days outside of the US, they'll shut off your data. So while it's a very cool option for a very particular type of traveler, it's probably not the best option for most people. Next is those little old-fashioned SIM card chips that you can buy in your destination and switch in and out with your home line. Just don't lose these little chips. These are usually the cheapest ways to stay connected while abroad, except for the free option, obviously, but these physical SIM cards come with a whole slew of problems. First and foremost is that a lot of phones don't even come with the physical SIM card slots anymore, like the past several generations of iPhones. So while plenty of phones still use them, it seems like these little chips are becoming a thing of the past. Also, sometimes setting these up in the airport is quick and easy, but in many destinations, they don't even sell SIM cards in the airport, which means you now have to go hunt around town for someone to install them for you, and a lot of times you'll be struggling to do this in a different language. If you're on, say, a 5-day vacation, you don't really want to waste half of a day with no service, paying for transportation to take you around to different shops, trying to find someone who will sell SIM cards to foreigners. And to top it off, even when you do find a place that sells SIM cards, then you have to deal with the risk of getting scammed. This happened to us twice, including in an actual official cell phone provider store inside of a shopping mall. After finally getting fed up hassling with those physical SIM cards, I switched over to eSIM companies like Olafly, and I've never looked back. Olafly is known as the go-to eSIM for unlimited data plans, and they were kind enough to sponsor this video. Travel eSIMs solve pretty much every issue we've talked about so far. They're cheaper than using your home provider's travel plan. You can install it on a compatible phone all by yourself in like 2 minutes before you even leave home. And since you'll be connected right when your flight lands, you won't have to waste time hunting down a physical SIM card or risk getting scammed. Olafly offers coverage in over 200 destinations and unlimited data in over 150 of those destinations. If you use your phone a lot, these unlimited data plans can actually end up costing less than buying cheaper 1 or 2 gigabyte data plans that you have to top up all the time and worry about running out while you're out exploring. Your data plan doesn't start until you actually activate it, and so if you have a trip coming up, you can buy it now and just install it on your phone so you don't forget. Then right before your flight takes off or right when you arrive, you can activate it for your data to start. For an extra discount on Olafly eSIMs, you can use the link in the description with discount code PROJECTUNTETHERED. You can also watch my full Olafly review to see my experience testing it across 5 different continents, including around Mount Everest, as well as a step-by-step setup tutorial. Okay, before we get into an interesting internet option that requires packing an extra small device, let's talk about the free option. The free option isn't anything earth-shattering or anything, and before you roll your eyes, hear me out. The free option is to just rely on public Wi-Fi while you're traveling. Some destinations have public Wi-Fi practically everywhere, and if you also download maps onto your phone offline to fill in the gaps, then you really won't be missing much. Plus, and this might sound crazy, but who knows, maybe if you spend less time on your phone, your trip will actually be more memorable. All that said, sometimes you actually do need to be connected. And there's nothing more frustrating than scrambling all over the place trying to find a usable connection when you urgently need it. And while there are some destinations where there's Wi-Fi all over the place, there are other destinations where it's pretty much non-existent and you need to rely on your phone's data plan or a different internet plan in order to stay connected. If you do end up using public Wi-Fi, always make sure you're connected to a secure VPN first to protect your sensitive data from hackers. I've been using Surfshark VPN for years now, so if you need a VPN, I'll link to a discount code that'll get you 86% off. Next are portable Wi-Fi hotspots, which are these little devices that basically use local networks to create your own private Wi-Fi network, kind of like having your own personal router that you carry around with you. You can either buy or rent one of these devices, and some of them come with data preloaded on it, kind of like a travel eSIM. And others have a little slot to add your own data SIM card. Some allow you to connect up to 10 devices at the same time, so these can come in really handy if you're traveling with a big group of family or friends. That said, unless you're a group of several people, it's going to cost you more than just getting a travel eSIM. And even if you are a group of several people, it means that you'll lose connection if you ever separate yourself from the person who's carrying the device. This would be a huge deal breaker for me because I honestly don't know what I would do if I had to sit there on the toilet without internet on my phone. It's also just another device to carry around with you and have to charge, which goes against my minimalistic instincts. If you're just traveling with one other person, I think these would be overkill for most normal travelers. Instead, you could just save money by getting a regular SIM card or an eSIM on one person's phone, and then the other person can just use it as a hotspot. Many of Olafly's unlimited plans now allow 500 megabytes of tethering per day, which should be plenty for just checking messages, maps, trip planning, and that sort of stuff. There's one other huge cell phone consideration that most travelers forget to think about before going abroad, and that's how they're going to receive verification phone calls and SMS text messages while they're traveling. I'm talking about those codes that they send to your home phone number when you try to log into your online banking or when you're trying to open other apps and websites that ask you to verify your identity. Let me tell you from experience that it is not fun to lose access to your accounts when you're halfway around the world. And there is a simple fix that will allow you to receive these verification codes and avoid getting locked out of your accounts. But it's a fix that you have to set up before leaving your home country. I show you step by step how to set it up in this video, so I recommend watching it now before you forget. If you do forget and you end up leaving home without changing these settings, you could be in for a very big headache. All right, guys, like, subscribe, do the things. Love you. Bye-bye.